morning, everyone. Well, Soma already told you who I am, so I don't have to introduce myself. The Africa Biogas Partnership Program, it is a partnership between SNV, HIFOS and DGIS, where HIFOS is the fund manager of the program. We are coordinating it. SNV provides technical assistance, and this is based on their very long experience of running domestic biogas programs in Asia. And DGIS mainly providing the money that we need. The aim in terms of production is to build 70,000 domestic biogas plants in 6 countries in Africa. The countries are Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Burkina Faso, Senegal and Ethiopia. The program really focuses on building a viable sector, a market for biogas. So we're not just building the plants there, but it's really a program that wants to engage multiple stakeholders and institutions. We do a lot of support to business development and engaging the private sector and strengthening them. So training of masons, trying to help them becoming biogas companies, and really creating a market, so also for sustainability. Now, the main beneficiaries of the domestic biogas program are women, because it actually has a lot of benefits for health, convenience, fuel wood savings, workloads, etc. I assume you all know what is biogas, but let me very briefly tell you it's a process that actually uses dung from cows or other animals. It is being digested, and the gas you can use for the kitchen, so as a cooking fuel, and also for lighting. And it also has a byproduct which we call bioslurry that people put on their lands that actually is a good manure. The goal of the program is to improve livelihoods and quality of life of rural farmers through utilizing the market and non-market benefits of domestic biogas. And the overall objective is to disseminate domestic biogas in rural areas with the ultimate goal of establishing a sustainable and commercially viable biogas sector. Now this is, we've started in 2009, so we're now in the 3rd year. Some countries started a bit later. And this is, in terms of production, the results that we've achieved so far. Just last month we've reached 10,000 plants, so this was the first milestone. Now you've noticed that our objective was 70,000, so we're still not reaching the objective, and we've actually had a bit of a slow start, but now things are actually going quite well. If you look at the different countries, you see some countries are doing better than others. Kenya is definitely heading the ABPP, and Senegal, Burkina Faso are very much below their target. Now, since we're talking about gender mainstreaming and effectiveness, how it helps effectiveness, it would be interesting if I could tell you that gender mainstreaming has indeed now leads to better production, for example. This would be one indicator. No, I can't say this. The only thing I can say is that the countries that are actually doing better are also countries that are doing more in gender mainstreaming, but I can really not say if this is a causal relation or anything, but it is there. Because in fact Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda are doing better than the other 3 countries, and they're also doing a bit more in the area of gender mainstreaming, but I'm sure other factors are also influencing this. Now, main benefits of biogas. The first one is convenient, clean and climate-friendly cooking fuel. It decreases workload because you don't have to collect firewood anymore. That's mainly for women and children. Improves sanitation and hygiene because of the stables for the cows are usually better in sanitation, but also people can add their bio-toilet, but it's hardly being done in practice, I must say. Improves the health of the household, that is because of the smoke-free kitchen. Improves agricultural production, reduced use of non-renewable fuels, and improved lighting for the houses that actually have a lamp as well. Now, why do we need to mainstream gender in the ABPP or in biogas programs? Now, maybe for you this is not a very strange question, but I get this question all the time, because women are the main beneficiaries. So is there any need to mainstream gender? That is actually what many people ask themselves or me. And also biogas programs in itself, they don't discriminate against women. Women can just participate, etc. Now, if we look a bit more into that, the assumption why do we say women are the main beneficiaries is in fact because they are spending most of the time in the kitchen and also the ones that are collecting the firewood. We all know that there's structural gender inequalities that are actually below this fact, I would say, not even an assumption. But the thing is that these are often not even being said, probably because we know it that well that we don't have to explicitly say this or address it. Well, we know this. Women are mainly responsible for reproductive, productive, and community tasks, so they have a triple workload, where they actually really focus on the reproductive tasks. That is really a women's affair. Within the household, there's a big difference between the time allocation, who does what, and who spends how much time on what as well. Also access and control over the different resources in a certain household, and also the decision making over them. So this is about land, crops, animals, finance, etc. So if you look at this, women may be the main beneficiaries, but it's not necessarily that they truly benefit, because you can be a beneficiary as in you're just a user of a certain product, or you also benefit more and you have full decision-making power over it, for example. So why gender mainstreaming is because there are these structural gender inequalities, women and men, they have different needs and they have different participation and benefits. So gender mainstreaming is necessary for both having a more effective or an effective program, as well as from the equality perspective. You want, it's actually the rights-based approach. Now, how we see it within ABPP is the gender mainstreaming is, at one hand, we want to integrate gender concerns into all the program areas. This is the traditional gender mainstreaming approach. Planning, implementation, monitoring, as well as in the institution that do it. Also, we want to develop specific interventions that really empower women, socially, economically, that strengthen their position, with the aim to maximize overall impact and equal benefits. Now, we've actually the trajectory that we followed has been with ENERGIA since the beginning. I would say we've been partnering with them. In 2010, mid-2010, we had a workshop for all the 6 programs on gender mainstreaming. We've developed, or actually ENERGIA developed, I would say, a guide on gender mainstreaming in biogas programs in general that is used for ABPP, but also other biogas programs in the world. In that workshop, all the country programs, they made gender action plans, which has objectives and targets. Actually, they followed that process that Soma just showed you. There are gender focal points in each country. We've done a lot of follow-up, some more exchange, and also we've set up some e-discussions, and I think the e-discussions have been really nice and effective. We have now running one on financing for access to credits and financing for biogas that also has participation from people from other countries and other programs. So that is very nice. There's country-specific support. This is workshops, etc., but also in 4 of the 6 countries, there's an ENERGIA focal point that is really connected to the program that helps a lot, I must say. So we give country-specific support. And in general, I would say many of the systems, monitoring systems or assessment systems, tools that have been gender mainstreamed now. So one simple thing is that at least all the data that is now being collected and analyzed is sex disaggregated, for example. That's one thing. And also we do the organizational audits that now have included gender aspects. The results, one of the target areas is to increase also women's position in the as biogas entrepreneur. So when we train masons, it's of course a very male-based sector, so we want to include also women in this sector and train them as mason and especially retain them. So we have these figures, the first 2 columns say like how many female masons are actually being trained. Now you see it's low, it's not even above 6%. But the nice thing also, you see some growth. Burkina Faso in 2010, they trained a lot of male masons, but none of them was a woman. Now they have 4% of the masons that they trained are women. I think it's in fact 5, that's the number. But the good thing is they're also active in 2011. So the ones that they trained are also active. In other countries, well, like for example Kenya, they trained 4% of female masons last year. In 2011 and it was 6%, but only 3% is active. So you see where they have to do a bit more.
What numbers are these in
absolute terms? It's around, in Kenya for example, they have trained 250 or 300 masons in total. We have a lot. In Tanzania it's about the same. Also in Ethiopia it's a lot, 300. In Burkina Faso and Senegal it's still a very small amount, below 100.
But this is total masons trained, and then percentage 3%?
This looks at the total number of masons trained since the beginning of the program. Yeah. Also, well, one of the targets that we've all said is that when we do users training on use and maintenance, also in the beginning, some countries they trained mostly the men because they are the head of the household, and well, this is what happens if you go to households. You ask who is going to be trained, you get a man. So you really have to do a bit of effort. So we set a target that in each of the households we have to train at least one man and one woman. And what you see now, actually, if you compare the figures of 2010 with 2011, is that more of actually now the countries are really moving towards 50%. So that is quite good. Actually, it's interesting in Tanzania, they started with training mainly the women, and now also they're including the men, which is, yeah. Yes, also gender mainstreaming. The nice thing, yeah. No, because I don't know if you agree with me, but I think you should train both the men and the women, because you also want to include men in these tasks. And it is, as a fact, if you look at who's doing what in terms of biogas maintenance, it's in most countries the woman and the man, they have their own task. Like one would mix the dung and the other one would. So you have to train on both of them, and you cannot expect the man to tell the woman everything that he learned on the training, etc. Of course, we have many challenges. Actually, yeah, of course, the very mainstream challenge I didn't even put on this slide is just in general the context is, of course, difficult. We have all these inequalities in countries. They have a bit of traditional context. It's rural. We work with rural people, so it's always complicated. But this is just the context that we have, the social economic context. We work with national implementing agencies, so in each of the countries there's an organization that is responsible for implementing the biogas program. Now some of them, they already have some gender mainstreaming policy or background. Those are mainly the NGOs, and it's a bit easier to work with these agencies. They know a bit what is gender, what is mainstreaming. They have maybe even some staff. They've done it before, so it makes a big difference. Besides the National Implementing Agency, we work with many more other stakeholders, like small businesses, governmental institutions, etc. So it makes it complex. It can be of help if it's a women's organization or some institution with a strong gender approach, but it can also be very difficult. And also the influence that we as HIFOS, for example, have on these institutions far away, it's of course very limited. Now the sector, the energy sector in general, I would say, and also the biogas sector is very male-based. So this is where you talk about the implementers and the supply chain. It's only the users actually where you see all the women, or if you go to a gender workshop like this, where I suddenly see a lot of women. But any other energy meeting, it's a lot of men, which is not a problem in itself, but it makes it a bit difficult sometimes. A big challenge has been that from the beginning, the start of the program, there was no gender objective, and there was no specific budget set aside, so everything had to come later. And well, I hope for any new domestic biogas program that we just put it in from the beginning, so it would save so much time and energy. Another challenge is, yes, we've set targets, and a lot of targets is in putting more women there or having them participate in activities. And sometimes it's also very easy to achieve these targets, but it's not, you haven't really changed a lot, because you're actually talking about very structural inequality, structural issues that need a lot more attention than just making sure that the women are somewhere in a workshop sitting and getting some information. And then also, we want the gender mainstreaming to really lead to more effective programming, for example. But at this moment, it's just unknown. It's all kind of assumption. We really hope it, but it's not. We can't study it now, or there's no real data that is actually confirming this idea. Because it would probably help if you can really say, like, gender mainstreaming helps you to make your more effective program. That would really convince the people also working with it and make it easier. Enabling factors that we have, I think the local networks where they are there from ENERGIA has really helped the programs in doing mainstreaming. We brought in international expertise from other programs, Nepal, India, helped a lot to have gender responsibility in the central team. That is the team in Nairobi from HIVOS, which is in fact then me, but also in the teams that we work with in terms of the focal points has helped. It's also a challenge, especially when you think about the focal points, or also me as a gender person in a team. It's just one person, and if this person goes away or etc., you lose a lot of capacity, as well as it's something that should really be shared with all team members, especially the managing people. What has helped is the tools that we have to engender them. Affirmative actions and quota, although it is a bit limited what you achieve with it, it's a good start and it helps. As well as just simple counting of numbers, how many women are coming there, they're there. At least it shows you there's something needs to be done, and not. And the idea that women are main beneficiaries, it is clear then that you have to involve them, but it's really now a challenge how to get them actively involved and meaningfully, and also in the decision making. Some good practices, well, we already discussed user training and extension. Now we see that it's more equal, that you see women and men being engaged in trainings and also in the kind of messages that are being given out. I don't really have figures yet on how, what is the understanding then of this training, or does it indeed lead to a better, that the digesters are functioning better. That would be very nice if we could see this. On Mason training also, what we see now, the countries that have done it, Mason training, we just had some discussion with these people that actually they have, now they come with some good argument why we should actually include women as Masons. Because in the beginning it was like, maybe we should just include them because else is asking it, or, people really don't see very much of the need. But some interesting things now come out of it. So they say, like, actually women, when they are Masons, they also have more access to other women and also to women's spaces. So they can actually be very good Masons. So now we're thinking more of mixing the Masons promoters approach. There's also something that people say, I don't think is very interesting, like they say women may be more reliable or more trustworthy. Well, I don't know if that is true, but if people think it's true, it's also okay. Because maybe also the clients think that. Now, there's some countries that do specific interventions. Now they come with specific ideas that maybe become interesting. Like in Burkina Faso, they want to focus on the women that produce Dolo. That's a kind of beer, a local brewery. And this beer, when they brew it, it consumes a lot of firewood. It's really horrible. So if you make a special biogas digester for these women, it actually really helps their business. What was these other? Yeah, in Uganda they have a strong focus on female-headed households. That might also really, we get some nice results from that. And then country-specific. Each country does something interesting and has different results. So it's nice to see that now. Next steps is, I think, our approach or arguments should really now be that gender mainstreaming is not a burden. It's not something, we have to do as well, or we have to put someone, or we have to do this kind of budget, but really has a value in itself, and it should really contribute to the program and effectiveness. So that should be the argument, or that should be the convincing story. And I really hope we will achieve that in the coming years. What we plan to do for next year is some case studies that also come now with concrete data and information that really the program will improve gender relations, position of women, and also how gender mainstreaming will support the program effectiveness. So anyone with ideas on this kind of case studies, please come to me, because we haven't come that far yet. And in 2012, so next year in the middle somewhat, we want to have another workshop, international workshop, and also come with the information from these case studies and see how we can move a step further. And for the rest, more institutionalization of all the gender mainstreaming, what has now worked, that really has to be institutionalized and shared, and try to work a bit more with the incentives or motivational activities. That's our plans, and thank you very much.